Donald Trump to fire Jerome Powell? Okay, before we get triggered, let's explain this. Let me clarify. I'm not here to tell you to vote for the guy, the big bad orange man, however you feel about him. All we want to do is to prepare our investments and our businesses. That's why we're covering this. And so today we are going to see Jerome Powell with a 60-minute special that's going to be released, I think, at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. And that's how you know when they're getting desperate. And I'm going to show you the little teaser that they put out too, where they're claiming that he's avoided a recession. This is a classic hallmark moment right before the bottom falls out. But we got an interview with Trump that took place this week in which he said that he was going to fire Jerome Powell definitively, no question about it, no hesitation. The other part that gets interesting about this is we run through this hypothetical, okay? If you don't think that Trump's going to get in, then that's fine. That's okay. This is just a hypothetical scenario. He's saying that he's going to fire Jerome Powell. Think about what he's going to do to Gary Gensler as well. See, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, this is why I'm saying this is going to impact our investments. That's why I wanted to cover this one here today. Let's get right on into it. And by the way, guys, all of our resources are right there behind me at zachrector.com. Appreciate the love and support. Let's rock and roll. All right, this is the Fox Business interview with Trump. Let's listen in on this one.
Mr. President, back to the economy for a second. Would you reappoint Jay Powell?
No, I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't reappoint him?
No.
Because he missed inflation?
He did miss, but no, I wouldn't be inclined.
Who's your choice for Fed chairman?
I would have a couple of choices. I can't tell you now.
For a second, would you reappoint?
No hesitation. Absolutely no hesitation with that. He's done. You're fired. Just like on The Apprentice. Such a classic show. And so this is something that we got to consider, right? If Biden gets reelected, if somebody else shows up and gets elected, we're just running through hypothetical scenarios. Now, tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, 60 Minutes is going to air a rare interview with Fed Chair Jerome Powell. You know they're getting desperate, where they'll be talking about the future of interest rates and what the Fed might do next. This comes in the midst of the biggest interest rate hike campaign in history and the fastest rate that they raised those rates in history as well. And the best part is the trailer for the interview concludes with a, quote, "You have avoided a recession. Why not cut rates now?" Kobesi later asked, what part of the cycle is this? This is right before they pull the plug, where they air a Jerome Powell interview this is the weekend before the Super Bowl, right? I don't know when the Super Bowl is. I don't even know who's playing in the Super Bowl. But I know that, this is an off week, right? So we got an off week while Americans are at home on Sunday. Let's put Jerome Powell right out front there to make everybody feel warm and fuzzy inside. Watch this, though, and you can see the look on his face when the interviewer says, "You've avoided recession. Why not cut rates now?" You can tell, you can just see the look on his face. Check it out right here, folks.
There's no better person to ask about the state of the American economy than Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. We sat down with the chairman for a rare interview to ask about the future of interest rates, whether prices will come down, and what the Fed might do next.
Inflation has been falling steadily for 11 months. You've avoided a recession. Why not cut the rates now?
There's no better person to ask about the...
Right, Jerome Powell, you can see the look on his face. It's just a blank stare, and then I'm interested to see what he has to say in that regard. But this is exactly the moments that we, the same things being said, the same type of activity. You do the dog and pony show right before the bottom's about to fall out. Typical of an election cycle. And the last crashes actually were all during election cycles as well, 2020, 2008, and 2000. And so we're going to watch that. The other thing that the markets are, starting to remember is, oh, wait, when the Fed cuts rates, that means that there's been blood in the streets or it's going to get a lot worse. Historically, when we take a look at what's happened, every time the Fed has cut interest rates, it's because the bottom's falling out. And so we have this article. This was on the front page of Market Watch just this morning. And the 1987 stock market crash has lessons for traders convinced that the Fed will slash rates in 2024. Fed knows the cautionary tale of 1985 to 1986. And this is where most people are at right now. No recession, no problem. Investors appear to be banking on the Federal Reserve embarking this year on a historic historically aggressive round of interest rate cuts, even as the economy avoids a hard landing. But what does history tell us? History tells us very clearly, DataTrack took a look back at past easing cycles to see how market expectations for a decline of at least 1.25 percentage points over the coming year lined up with the past easing cycles. As shown in the chart below, they found only one instance in the last 44 years in which the Fed cut rates by 125 basis points or more within a year when a recession wasn't underway or seen clearly in the offing. It occurred and you see this chart right here, right? It occurred in 1985 and 86. The Fed had lifted the Fed funds rate to 11.6 in August 1984 before beginning a mid-cycle easing program that took it to 5.9 by October 96. Those cuts added fuel to a stock market rally, with the S&P 500 up 31% in 1985, up 18% in 1986, and up another 31% through the end of September 1987. But then you guys know what happened next. Students of market history know what happened next. Black Monday, October 19th, 1987, saw the S&P 500 plunge more than 20% in a single day. While the Dow dropped 23%, the S&P 500 ended the fourth quarter of 1987 with a loss of 23%. So, my thesis remains the same. I believe that we get, quote-unquote, black swan, banking crisis. I have been saying, right, the bomb's going to have to go off before the rates start getting cut. The bombs have started dropping, right? We've been responding against the Houthi rebels. We've been dropping bombs in Iraq and Syria now once again. We are engaged in a full conflict now with Iranian military forces, essentially, right? Houthi rebels, it's all backed by Iran, right? And once again, so we find ourselves in the middle of war, election cycle, and now the Fed, everyone, and even 60 Minutes, right? You've avoided recession. Why not cut rates now? He has not avoided recession. In fact, we've been talking about the silent recession that we, define this moment as, where it really is a recession for most people. Everybody's feeling tight, feeling the pain, but the markets are still going up, and they've papered it over with the manipulated data. That's all this is. But I think it's important to run through the thought exercise, right? The hypothetical scenario. If Trump were to get back, I know that those words really turn off so many people. I'm just running through scenarios. What happens if Biden is able to survive another 4? What happens if Trump comes back? What happens if somebody else shows up? How's that going to impact my investments in my business, right? I'm not counting on either one to save my business. I just want to know how, that's going to impact the markets, the current events, and everything that we have at play here. And if he comes back, firing Jerome Powell. If he comes back, what do you think he's going to do to Gary Gensler? And what do you think he's going to do to all the other heads, the other heads on the big snake, the bureaucracy beast that we talk about? It's all getting cut off. And he's going to, I think, continue with what he started in cutting regulations, reducing taxes. And that's the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. Whether or not you want to get on the right side of it is up to you, right? It started years ago. He accelerated it during his I was going to say his reign of power, but I know that really triggers people. His presidency, 2016 to 2020, he cut regulations by the most, really, that we've seen in history since about Reagan, and then he cut taxes at a similar level. That's up to you. I mean, you can get offended by the big bad orange man, or you can create a business, take advantage of the tax cuts, take advantage of regulations being, put back in check, or just sit and complain, sit and whine. Big bad orange man, be offended, or get rich, take advantage of the greatest transfer of wealth. And by the way, let me be very, 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 very clear. We're going to do the same dang thing even if Biden makes it another 4, or Kamala steps up, or Newsom steps in. I don't care who the president is. We are going to take advantage of the greatest transfer of wealth in world history, and we're not going to fall for this crap that they're putting up here with Jerome Powell showing up for the 60 Minutes interview. Ain't going to happen. But if you guys appreciate our updates, you guys know what to do. Thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this situation. God bless.